system webinar on the topic Construction Artisans Awards goes online, the challenges and prospects of e-assessment. I welcome you all panelists and presenters, as well as our team of participants. We have quite a lot of participants who have already joined. You are highly welcome and good morning. To start this meeting, I'd like to quickly introduce the chairman of this meeting, as well as the other panelists and speakers that we will be hearing from very shortly. It's my pleasure to introduce the chairman of this meeting, who is a man with so many caps. He's the vice chairman of the Council of Registered Builders of Nigeria, COBON. He's also the chairman of the Awards Committee at Nigerian Skills Expo. He's a fellow of more than 7 professional bodies, including the Nigerian Institute of Building, Nigerian Society of Engineers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Samson Amen Opalua. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Yes, but very faintly. Maybe you can speak up.
All right. I just lost connection while you were introducing.
Okay.
But I guess I'm clearly heard now.
Yes, yes, it's better. Yeah, you're highly welcome, sir.
Thank you. Let me, on behalf of the organizers of the Construction Artisans Awards and Nigerian Skills Expo, thank you, Mr. Moderator, our panelists, and the participants for this opportunity to discuss the future of the awards and the Skills Expo. I'm particularly glad that this initiative is coming on at this time because of the present situation in the world. Of course, you are aware of the COVID-19 pandemic and its fallouts that have confined men and machinery to idleness for some time. As the world begins to pick up from where it was, things will change. There will be new ways of doing things, and new regulations will come into force. But again, we are that there is an effect on the economy, the national economies of all the countries of the world. And many of these nations are working tirelessly to ensure that our economies are brought back on stream. And when that happens, the major area of regeneration of the economies will be construction. And therein lies our own responsibility as the guardians and the custodians of artisans. The role of artisans in the national economy and in the construction industry cannot be overemphasized. But our awards, as you are aware, was meant to be something that would ginger participation, glamorization, and skills sharpening for artisans in the industry. Now, in the past, we have succeeded in organizing physical competitions, and we're at the point of going for the 2nd edition this year. But the extant regulations and the circumstances we find ourselves has made it a bit difficult and unwieldy. And so we need to find out new ways of doing things, because the world has not stopped because of COVID-19 pandemic. The world must move on. And if we must move on, we must find new and innovative ways to address our own particular area of running the economy. And that is the Construction Artisans Awards and the Skills Expo. How do we do this? How do we organize an awards and a skills expo when men are not to come, people are not to come together? How do we assess when we cannot visit? There are challenges, obviously, but I want to thank the organizers for this quality of panelists that we have this morning. I am so sure, hearing about you and reading your CVs, that we'll do justice to what is at hand. And we do hope also that at the end of this webinar, we would have moved closer to arranging and organizing an online form of awards. I have no doubt that you are capable, you are experienced, you are exposed enough, and you know what it takes for us to move on, even in the present situation we find ourselves. I want to thank you for making time to be here, and I want to thank all the participants, and we expect to hear good questions, and people raise issues that we need to address. As for the organization of the awards, we are positive and we are committed to hosting it. The only issue now is how. And I hope that after today, we will get some insights as to how. Thank you very much. You are welcome. And on behalf of the Construction Artisans Award and Skills Expo, I want to declare this webinar open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Those are very wonderful words, and thank you very much for declaring this open. Even though before the network bleeped out, we're introducing the other participants, chairman, sir. But we'll take the opening remarks as valid, and I will still go ahead to introduce. We have from ICF, Industrial Training Fund, Engineer Best Nodim, who is an IV, Internal Quality Verifier, by training under the NSQs, the National Skills Qualifications. Engineer, you're highly welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
You're welcome. We also have, as part of the panelists, a very respected builder in our midst. He is the Honorary General Secretary, HGS, of the Nigerian Institute of Building, builder Christopher Belong. You're highly welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure. We have in our midst also a director with the National Board for Technical Education, Al-Haji Husseini Mohammed. You are highly welcome, sir. He's the Director for Vocational Skills Development and Training. You're highly welcome, sir. It appears your mic is on mute. It's a pleasure to have in our midst also, as part of the panelists, training expert with People First, United Kingdom, Amanda Grimes. You're highly welcome, Amanda.
Thank you very much, Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the invite.
You're welcome. One of our own who will be presenting to us the bane of our meeting today, Naomi Owolabi, an architect in training. Naomi, it's a pleasure to have you. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So I am Builder Lawrence Gabriel Mangay. I'll be moderating this session. We hope to spend just 1 hour on this session. So we would have all our points just straight to the point, and each of the presenters and panelists will be presenting for just 5 minutes, after which we'll take questions and answers from participants. And please, participants, if you're hearing me, below your screen, there's a button with Q&A. Feel free to type in your questions there, and then the panelists would address them and would pick out some to answer live. Also, we have the chat button. I see a few people already chatting, so feel free to drop your comments on the chat button at the bottom of your screen. Thank you very much. Having taken the chairman's opening remarks, without so much ado, we'll start the presentations hearing from Naomi Owolabi. You have 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here this morning. The chairman already set the perspective for which we have started to organize this competition. The maiden event was had last year at the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. And how we got there was we wanted to make sure that the whole country was involved in it, because when you say you're celebrating excellent craftsmanship, you want to see the sample size that you are comparing to find the best from. So we did our due diligence and made sure that in every state of the nation. So for those of us that are not Nigerians, Nigeria has 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. We went to all those states and screened craftsmen, craftspersons, and then it happened that when anyone won at the state, they went on to the zonals, and then from the zonals, all those that emerged came to the finals, and then we had the final competition at the Federal Capitol. We had about 5,000 people in attendance, which is huge. And this year we were looking to raise the bar and take the number higher just before the Corona struck. And so, in celebrating excellent craftsmanship, we had a lot for them to gain. We had a lot of prizes to be won. One of which is the prize for the overall best artisan, which was the 1 million naira cash prize for the person that emerged as the best artisan in Nigeria. We also had lots of prizes for whoever came second, third, and we had consolation prizes for all participants, such as personal protective gear. We had 2 boxes and 2 kits. And we had a very special category for people who didn't exactly contest in the competitions, but attended the event. We had 100 free business registrations. And that's because C-STEMP is not only looking to supply skilled manpower to the construction industry, we're also making sure that when these people learn skills, they are able to be sustainable by either working with labor employers in all capacities, or even going ahead to be entrepreneurs. And so, like I said, we were going to raise the bar this year. We had a target of about 10,000 people to be in attendance. Preparation was in full gear before the lockdown was imposed by the federal government. And for this reason, we've had to rethink. And I must say, we didn't do all that by ourselves. In the first year, we had the support and partnership of a lot of nice people, including the National Board for Technical Education, our sponsors, Hydroform, a British Council, and a lot of other people that have helped us to make sure that this mandate that we have in our hearts is delivered. And so, like I said, with the event of the pandemic, we had to first issue a notice of postponement to let everyone know that we're in this together, but we need to see how we will be able to achieve our goal, which is celebrate excellent craftsmanship. To drive assessment, really, because assessment is the vehicle within which we can establish the competence of these craftsmen. So there's a lot of people, anybody can show up and say, oh, I'm a plumber, I'm a carpenter, but how do we know that you're qualified? How do we know that you're competent? How do we know that we can put our sight in your care? And that's one of the main reasons for us to organize the CA every year. So looking at the situation on ground and thinking around what we could do to still have the CA this year, because like Chairman said, Corona is around, but the world has not stopped. Therefore, CA will not also stop. In looking at the things that we could do to make sure that we still have the events, we've encountered some challenges that are noteworthy. And one of them has to be that the artisans who are going to be the contestants in the competitions, their literacy levels are questionable. So some of them are semi-literate, some of them are literate. We have varying literacy levels. And before now, literacy has not exactly been a qualifying factor for you to be a craftsman, especially in Nigeria. So their literacy level, their ability to use technology has been of great concern to us. And we're not taking the challenge line that we've also thought around how we could still bring them along, bearing in mind that they might have challenges with the use of technology. Also, taking the CA online means that we have to develop certain types of technology for us to be able to collect the type of evidences that we will need to ascertain who is competent and who is going to be the best artisan in Nigeria in 2020. Also, the restrictions to movement. So construction is not an indoor event alone. It's a site-based event. And so if Corona has locked us at home, how then do we establish who is the best artisan in Nigeria from staying at home? And those are the challenges that we have highlighted. And we also see opportunities, truly. We see opportunities in it. It is said that, necessity is the mother of invention. So, I mean, we have had to think about things. And so we are having to see how we can leverage on what we have and the situation on ground. And one of the opportunities that we see with the CA going online, should we take it online, is that because of the power of digital, which is great awareness, greater reach, we're able to let more people know what we're doing, celebrating excellent craftsmanship. Well, another great opportunity that we see is that we will get to save some of the costs that we would have expended hosting a live event. And then one of the major takeaways from it for us at C-STEMP is that we will now begin. This will be like the pilot for what we have been thinking about and working on for a very long time, which is e-assessment. So we think that taking the CA online, of course, taking the CA online means that we are going to have to do some form of assessment to determine who the best artisan is. So it means that we'll have to develop the infrastructure. So we've been doing it, but now it's like a push for us to develop the infrastructure that will help us to be able to actually take not just CAA, but even assessment online. The other thing that taking the CA online will do for us is grant us data that we can use in research, because we have to know exactly where the industry is at, the level of literacy of our artisans. We know these things on the fly, but data will be able to make us make very concrete decisions based on facts, and then we will be able to, again, I said, we can't emphasize enough how much we need to celebrate these blue-collar workers. And then taking it online means that we're not only restricted to the 10,000 people that we have planned for, but we can take it as high as possible with the power that the digital platform gives to us. So that's it for me. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And I hope that as we continue to dialogue, we will, like Chairman said, find solutions immediately to what we can do. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Naomi. That was a beautiful presentation. Thank you very much. I guess you've set the tone for the discussions. Artisans Awards, taking it online and using it as a vehicle to drive e-assessment. That is the being of this discussion. And then, like the chairman said, the world is moving and we have to move along with the world. So the aim is to look at the how. How do we tie the Artisans Awards to e-assessment? How do we factor in the validity of evidences that artisans would have to present to emerge to be judged as winners for their various streets? So to take these discussions further, sir, Malam Mohammed, can you hear us?
Yes.
It's like
I can hear you, Mr. Lawrence. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. So from the regulatory point of view, can you share your thoughts on the topic, taking the Artisans Awards online and then tying this to e-assessment? Thank you very much. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much. I think I have to start commending the organizers of this the Construction Artisan Award, as well as this forum. What I understand that is required by this the artisan, the CEA, is how they are going to blend, or how the e-assessment can be blended with this artisan award. That is after the assessment or after the award. Now those learners or those competitors who have undergone the competition right from the local level to the national level, can they be certified? Can they be given the NSQ certification? Now, e-assessment actually is not new. Since the creation or the development of WW, that is the World Wide Web in the 90s, many organizations, companies, and sectors actually key into this like e-government, and also e-education. And now under e-education, we have this e-assessment, which has been long been done, not only in the sector of in our own sector, but the only problem of this e-assessment is the e-assessment in skills development, that is in skills acquisition. Now, when you try to have competition of that nature, and you are able to, all the learners are able to do, and the competitors are able to scale through. Now, what type of criteria have you used actually for you to be able to assess these competitors, to be able to give them or to award them or to give them any qualification at whatever level you want to give them? That is one of the challenges we are going to face here. For instance, you know that the assessment, planned assessment, especially E-assessment, the assessor must look at certain risks that is involved in it. Let me give you an example. For instance, maybe if you are using video coverage in assessing the competitor or the learner when he's making a table or doing some masonry work. Now, the video coverage may not necessarily give you the entire environment he is working on. He may not actually give you the entire environment. You will see actually his PPE, but the environment, the self-guiding environment there may not be captured. And there are certain issues which, if you are there, and the application of holistic approach there may be a bit difficult. Because when you are making assessment, E-assessment, you need, or when you are making assessment, maybe face-to-face assessment, you need to be interacting. And you need to be observing the learner using some certain, for instance, not only his skill, the knowledge of his area of competence, as well as the attitude he is showing, such as some soft skill when he's displaying it. So you are using the entire holistic approach there to be able to assess him. But the use of E-assessment is very, very good, especially if it is well designed by the awarding body. And what I expect from C-STEMP is that the awarding body must have actually recognized, I know it has already recognized C-STEMP, and it will be able to bring up from the established or from the developed NOS which we have, then how can we use this NOS to be able to assess the competitors online? And at what level, at what level are you going to actually assess the competitors? Now, to say that when maybe at local level you are giving them, I'm just giving example, at local level maybe you are giving the learner level 1, or at higher level, national level, maybe level 3, it may be a bit difficult in the sense that the level 3, if you go into the NOS, you see there are so many things which the learner needs to actually go. Not only the area, the mandatory units, there are some optional units, as well as there are some soft skills. And with these soft skills are very important also for him to be able to be a competent craftsman or competent artisan in that area of specialization. So, and we should remember that when we are planning the assessment, we should know that there should be, we should actually remember the assessment cycle, right from the initial assessment, the planning, the activity to be taken, as well as the decision you are going to take, that the assessor is going to take, and also the review, then the cycle continues. Now, one of the among the benefits which I want to actually take into cognizance is the use of e-learning or e-assessment reduces time or reduces paperwork. There are complaints, we know, that there are a lot of paperwork in the current assessment procedure we are following, especially whereby a learner is required to have about 3 evidences. And some of the learners, you see that they cannot write or they cannot speak, especially writing, to write their evidences. However, there are some ways which we have already made it in the in assessment that somebody can do it for him and ensure that it is his own work and sign. Now, there is also the benefit of time because and instant feedback. Now, if we consider what is happening in CBT, especially in JAM and the rest, you consider instantly the learner will be able to know what his score is. That is one of the advantages of using e-assessment, especially in the conventional system of our education, of our examination. But the main concern here is the use of the e-system or e-assessment in the skills development or in the skills assessment. Whereby if you eliminate, if you say that, okay, you don't have face-to-face, now there are fears of risks such as plagiarism, such as photo show or video show. You can say that always, and even in the nation, that some people will just create a picture and say this one, and it will be as if it is true, or it will create a video as if it were true. So if there is the way of which we can eliminate this one and ensure that it is authentic, and it follows this our acronym VCRS, that is, it is valid, it is authentic, sufficient, current, and reliable. That is okay. And actually the assessment the e-assessment will be of assistance, especially at this period, because this period of COVID-19 actually brings up so many thinking, and we hope that we will not retreat, or will not go back. We'll just continue with this innovative thinking of how we can move ahead, because even in the board, we are thinking of applying this e-assessment or e-portfolio. But look at it this way now. The current issue is that we want the acceptability of this NSQ to be wider in coverage in the country. As of now, since the beginning of this in 2013 and the plug off in 2018, we only have about not more than 1,000, not up to 2,000 assessors, qualified assessors, and just about 130-something IVs, that is internal quality assurance, and just about 20 or not up to 30 external quality assurance. So you can see that we are still going ahead, we are still moving. Now, if, for instance, we say we are jumping from this one to the other one, we are not even at this level, even at this, not using the conventional or the manual one, we have a lot of challenges. And most of you, I know, you know the challenges we are facing. And especially in the issue of the risks involved, such as plagiarism and the rest. And we don't want to follow suit with what has been happening inside other examination, previous examinations, where we see there is abuse. In this one, we want quality to be ensured, because quality here is the key aspect. The quality assurance is the key aspect. Whatever we do here, we must ensure quality is the main aspect, and whatever we're going to do, we must ensure that quality is assured. So in using the e-assessment, if we can devise means of assuring the quality, ensuring that right from the local level, right from the time when these learners or when these competitors are doing their competition, the assessors are there at their disposal, and are they actually following the national occupational standards to the core? And how are they going to do it? If we can make sure that, yes, because for instance, even in CBT, let me give you an example. In CBT, some people writing examination in CBT, there must be supervisor there. There must be supervisor, and these supervisors, they are experts also. They know they cannot allow these people to just do whatever they want. So if you are using E and maybe videotaping the work of the learner, there must be somebody who is supervising that learner. You cannot just leave that learner to do it as he wishes. And
yeah, you have just a minute to round up.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And assume that later on you can use that video clip to assess the work of the learner. So these are the things. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead later.
Thank you very much, Alaji, for those very useful comments. Thank you very much. To take us further, let's hear from the training director from ITF, Engineer Bess Nodim. Are you here? Engineer Bess Nodim, let's hear your views on the topic, taking the Artisans Awards online, and how this aligns with the e-assessment for people with the vocational skills. You have 5 minutes, sir. Thank you very much. Your mic is on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence and C-STEMP for this opportunity. My name is Engineer Bess Nodim. I'm from ITF. I'm a training development officer, and ITF is one of the foremost skills training and development organizations in Nigeria that was established in 1971 with a clear mandate to set and regulate training standards and offer direct training intervention in industrial and commercial skills training and development, using a crop of highly competent professional staff, modern training techniques and technology. And you agree with me that one of the modern training techniques we are talking about here has to do with the e-assessment. It's a modern training techniques. Things have changed. Just like Mr. Zan said, and the man in charge, COVID has brought about a change that has come to stay. And anybody that is into skills provision must key into the online assessment. So during the time of the last Empower Batch 2, NADDC, which is one of the sectors I work with as an assessor and a verifier, incorporated the online training as part of what they were doing. They incorporated the online training. So during that time, provisions were made for 30% online training. So videos were made, recorded, given out to different centers. And the people that handle that aspect made data available to each center head, so that by the time they log in to the portal that was created at a specific time, they can be able to watch those videos in modules in line with the NSQF national occupation standards that have been provided. So such national occupation standards were used to make those online video. So once you click in from the portal that was provided for a particular dedicated time, they'll be able to do it, see what is expected and take note. At the end of it, an online exam was taken that can be able to log them in at a particular time, and it's timed, and at the end, it just logs out by itself. It will be marked and sent centrally. So, in essence, e-assessment, just like you said, the challenges and the prospects, e-assessment is all about the use of information technology in assessment. And last year, we in Lagos Center, in ITF, Industrial Skills Training Center, we are part of this Construction Skills Award. About 3 or 4 of our trainees made it to the final. Just like it was said in the video, it started from the state level, zonal level, to the national level. We have trainees in electrical and plumbing that made it to the final level. And you agree with me that not everybody will get a crown, but having reached that peak is an indication that the products from the center, they are good, as well as others. Now this year, things have just turned the other way around. So what is going to happen is that for us in the automobile sector, we have certain assessment criteria. Now what happened, what I'm now thinking, when this was called, how are we going to bring it into the e-assessment platform? We make use of direct observation. We make use of question and answer. We make use of practical assessment. We make use of witness testimony. We make use of personal statement, work product, recognition of prior learning. These are about 7 assessment criteria we use in automobile. Now that we are not going to see those people virtually, we are not going to see them face to face, what assessment criteria are we going to deploy? And no matter, you agree with me that whether the COVID goes or not, there are skills that will remain relevant. The construction will remain relevant. The food industry will remain relevant. The automotive sector will remain relevant. Even in the essential duties, vehicles that take all these samples to wherever they are, if they develop fault, somebody must attend to it, and it must not be attended online. So somebody must know the skills and be able to handle it. So when we looked at it, we now realize that for a trainee in this sector, automobile, to be declared competent, we need to see his work product. The direct observation can be carried out while he's doing the work. Somebody very close can be able to take recordings of what is happening and get feedback from the assessor or whoever is that is supervising to confirm that this man actually is competent. Then recognition of prior learning from where he was able to acquire those skills. Then
1 minute left, Mr. Best.
Yes. So when I have opportunity next, we'll be able to look at the advantages and disadvantages. The man from MBTE has said it, plagiarism, copying. But if such things are tagged in a way, it might reduce plagiarism and copying. If I tag my product in a way that give it a code, whenever it appears online, we're able to be detected.
Thank you very much, particularly for that last comment. Thank you very much. So that further reinforces the fact that it is possible to have e-assessment, very reliable evidences that meet all the criteria that the NBQ or NSQs require. Thank you very much for those useful comments, Mr. Best. To take the floor next, we have Ms. Rosanna. She prefers to be called Tana. She is the provost of the Wefcrest College of Hospitality. Tana, it's a pleasure to have you. Your network was breaking. You indicated that you had some challenges, but we would allow you to have 5 minutes to present your thoughts on the topic. Construction Artisans Awards goes online, the challenges and prospects of e-assessment. You have the floor now, Tana. You're welcome.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I have heard everything, and then I'm so glad not to be part of this program. So without much ado, I think I would just go straight to the issue here, that we need to strategize and align our activities to the new normal, which is critical to the sustainability and the continuity of the skills training. I remember the day before we locked down, Waycrest College, we were almost, we have finished all the practical exams of the students, and then we just remaining some students to have their own final exams. So what we have told them that, well, look, what we are going to do is we are going to plan in such a way that you are going to do the online exams. And then, of course, the online exam, you usually prepare the exams, it's moderated exams. And then what we have to do because of the situation, we have now to redesign, restructure the exam so that we will be able to give a real exam, practical, real theoretical exam with eliminating all the cheating and all these things. So we gave them a coursework, a case study, so that we can test the knowledge of the students. Without much ado, regarding the way Waycrest, the hospitality school, run our online exam or assessment, I would like us to go to what we call the e-assessments. I think we have to put ourselves now with this new normal, with this new age, the knowledge age, wherein we have used technology. I know many NSQ or all TVET programs, they are all using online means. Online means maybe in running their training, online means in doing also their assessments. But when we do the assessment, we have to make sure that we use all the tools, all the methods of assessment that is required for that particular learning outcomes. It's true that in TVET, or vocational technical education, sometimes it's very difficult really to assess the competence of the person by doing the e-assessment. We are talking here now, what is going to happen to the new normal. So it is not really a 100% e-assessment. There should be a blend. There should be a blend of these assessments. There is what you call the traditional, the face-to-face, and then the online. So we now reduce the assessment into this, maybe this assessment, and then you now do the face-to-face, because it's true. TVET, vocational technical education, it's really a practical based qualification. So it cannot just say, okay, we do this online assessment. It's true, we can do online assessment. There is question and answer, personal statement, but observation, how you can do that observation? You can't do that observation when you are doing online. Not unless we now establish that when you are doing an online e-assessment and carrying out the observation, we will now ask partnership with the industry that these students will now, or these learners will go to the industry and do their practical activities. There are the things that we have to work, transformational. How are we going to carry out our technical vocational training? How are we going to do the e-assessment? We have to now discuss, these are the criteria that we are going to follow for this particular learning outcomes. Okay, these are all knowledge-based. We use the e-assessment for the knowledge base. It's true that we have also the mandatory units that we are referring to, the social, the communication, teamwork. You will not be able to do that because you have to see, you have to feel those competence of those people in those areas, the social skills. There is still, we have to check, we have to see how we are going to handle all these issues. Is to sit down together, discuss this criteria so that we can say, okay, this one is necessary. This one is the most apt e-assessment that we are going to use, okay? There are many learning methods that we can use blended in e-learning. It can be improved, the quality of reach of learning. It can widen also the participation in it. It broadens the choices and foster the continuous innovation needed for the 21st century. Technology, we need communication. So it can also reduce the time spent on training administration. So when you have this, provide better feedback about the progress and the learners. And then also for the employers, there are so many things that we can do. There is this chat, the chat room that we're in. You can now follow the learner. You have to do this. I think some of us, we have done an online training or an online education, and we know how to handle these things. That we can manage to get all the necessary criteria in order we can say, okay, this particular person has achieved the learning outcomes in this particular unit. The teaching delivery and methods increasingly needs to embrace client demand for flexible learning options. No, we cannot just say, okay, we level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Oh, these are but there are some things that we have to look into. There are innovative ways that we have to look into in our assessment. Practitioners need to know how to operate technologies and how to integrate them in their practice and how to use them. So we have to make sure that our learners are up to the advances in the technologies. I know there are problems. There are problems with our learners because of the money part, the financial part of this. But I think with help here and there, we will be able to make sure that we run this technological advancement. Smartphones, we can use the smartphones. Advances is handled in mobile technologies, including notebooks, tablets, smartphone, and then there are a lot of flexibility in the delivery. I think my time is running.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just say what are the disadvantages of the e-assessment. There is what you call a broad disadvantage. Online cheating, which has its strengths in impersonification, plagiarism. As much as e-learning is aligned to teaching, learning, and assessment process, it has a big impact to determine the authenticity of work. And then there's it provides to this big area where people can cheat, and also it does not accommodate different types of ability of the person. The wider use of the e-assessment system clearly depends on the identification of solutions to technical and procedural hurdles that threatens their stability. So in order to develop better, strong assessment, a checklist, an e-assessment procedure is required to anticipate these problems and to advise institutional policy, assessment, security, authentication of procedures. I think these are the things that we have to put into so that at least we will be able to use the e-assessment in technical vocational education. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tana. Thank you very much for these useful contributions. Particularly the need to have a blended approach to e-assessment. The fact that it shouldn't take away the place for physical, like direct observation, which is one of the evidences with the highest strengths from the SWOT analysis. So very useful contribution. And you also made a very important point to take stakeholders along. So the awarding body, let's decide, let's review the norms against the learning criteria, the learning outcomes. What evidences would be suitable for E, you know, and which would be suitable for direct supervision. Thank you very much, Tana, for those useful contributions. To speak further, we would give the floor to the zonal coordinator for the Artisans Awards South Zone. He is also the General Secretary for the Nigerian Institute of Builder, Christopher Bellon. You have 5 minutes, sir. Let's have your views on the topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's good to have us all here to discuss on the possibilities of taking the CAA award online, and also blending that with e-assessment. I'll be speaking as the secretary of NIOB in my own personal position as the secretary. And of course, like we know, NIOB is the awarding body for construction skills, for construction sector. Then I'll also speak as an IV, as someone that understands the assessment process very well. I will also speak as the zonal rep or coordinator for CAA, at least for the last experience and this. In the last one, we moved from the state to the zonal, then to the national. I'll speak on these three perspectives so that I believe that would also make us to understand how I think and feel about this CAA moving online and the importance of e-assessment. As the secretary of, thank God, our guy from MBTE is here. He can attest that the construction sector has always taken the lead in terms of propagating NSQ. And recently, as part of the memo I sent to the board as the secretary of the awarding body, NIOB, I've requested for the board to produce new guidelines and procedures for assessment, taking into cognizance what is happening in the world as far as this COVID-19 pandemic is concerned. Now, one thing we have to know is that the world has really changed. Great disruption has happened. And when I have any opportunity to discuss with people, I tell them to think of—
Your mic is on mute. Can you just unmute your mic?
No, it's not on mute.
I can hear him.
It's not on mute. Can you hear me, Lawrence?
If he's on mute, I can, none of us would have been hearing. I can hear him.
Lawrence, are you sure it's not your network? His video is still. So I think I'll continue. If others can hear me, please, I think I'll continue.
Yes.
Continue.
All right. So now as NLB, I've made the board to understand that we are determined to stay ahead of the pack in terms of NSQ in the country. And now we have to start thinking of the possibilities of e-assessment. While responding to it, to the memo, one of our board members did mention the need to interface with MBTE as a regulatory body. But from what Alhaji Hussaini has just said, I've picked that point. They're expecting regulatory bodies to make a submission in line with that on how it can be blended with the National Operational Standard. I'll take that and make sure we do the needful so that we can commence with this. Now, when you talk of CAA, I've just taken this long process or this introductory part so that we can understand that CAA going online is something we need to actually grab, and it's something we need to actually seek every opportunity to fit into it. Because when you look at the assessment process, like Engineer Best had mentioned all the evidence gathering methods, You look at PRF, you look at work product, you look at question and answer, you look at your witness testimony, and so on. Okay, maybe the observation. The observation seems to be the only area where we are afraid of maybe interference with human process and so on. Why we can start it gradually, who says that in future CA awards, if we have the right partners, we cannot have a controlled environment where people can actually come and display their skills. You have cameras everywhere, because we have to understand what e-assessment and so on mean to a layman. To a layman, e-assessment means where my eyes should look at something, I should have cameras looking at those particular things, possibly 360 degrees cameras. It means where I should be listening to what how the applicants or the competitors are discussing with themselves in terms of the soft skills, possible sound signals. So I think with the right sponsors, in future, even if we cannot achieve it now, in future, we can have a controlled environment where we can have all this. And the problem of getting observations, getting evidences from observations would be sorted out. I'll speak about now why acknowledging these possibilities. Of course, one has to recognize that we have challenges. So if we can beat that, those are part of the challenges. Then ICT knowledge among the students, the centers, and so on. All those are part of the challenges. One has to look at that. But I think those challenges are small compared to the benefits of having an e-assessment process or taking a CA award online. For the meantime, I support the various views that perhaps we can have a blended process or a system for this assessment where part of the evidence gathering method can be done physically, and the other part would be submitted digitally. And I'll speak on these two sections individually. On collecting some evidences physically, you now have to look at the aspect of cost, getting a neutral person that will monitor this process. Or if you have to look for a supervisor in that immediate in giving the right assessment, hence this has to do with competition amongst people from other zones of the country. Now, if you are sending that is on one part. On the other part of sending other evidences down to a central, I'm looking at a process, sorry, I cannot share it now. I'm looking at a process where we can have a dedicated database or a site where these evidences can be uploaded for safety and confidentiality so that everyone, every assessor, all the examiners can look at this evidence. The submission of evidences, it means anywhere the trainees or the competitors are, they can always log on to that platform that is safe and secure and submit all the evidences that are well tagged and well protected. On the e-assessment, you will agree with me that going with the trend of technology, you can see that the big organizations are investing heavily on video technology. And you have softwares like I can share your apps with you. I can do so many things with you and share your desktop and so on. In summary, This e-assessment, I think it has come to stay. CA award going online, I think, in my opinion, is something that we need to, if there's need for us to smoothen some edges, why not? We can smoothen it. But on the aspect of the awarding body, as the secretary of the awarding body and as a zonal coordinator on the board of the awarding body, representing CBT, will get a proposal as an awarding body on this process of e-assessment, because that is the right way to go. That is the way to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
New jobs are being created, new processes, new procedures. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Builder Chris. Very useful comments. Thank you very much. And I'm particularly happy that the awarding body is already taking steps in this direction. You rightly said you've written to the board for technical education to look into the issue of e-assessment. Thank you very much, and for also reinforcing the fact that taking Artisans Awards online is very possible. Though there may be challenges, but yes, we, together with the right strategy, we can achieve what we want to achieve. The next speaker would be an expert, a training expert from People First, United Kingdom. We have in our midst Amanda Grimes. Amanda, you are highly welcome, and you have 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you very much for the invite today. Yep, I work for a training organisation called People First, and we've certainly went down the e-assessment journey probably about 10 years ago now. I think I'm going to repeat a lot of what your panelists have already been saying, so it's been an interesting conversation to hear. Certainly it always does need to be a blended approach, and certainly we would still go out face to face to actually do observations with the learners. But what I had wanted to sort of talk through today was just maybe some of the benefits and the challenges to using an e-portfolio system. And I guess I wanted to think about it from our experiences, whether it was the learners, the employers, and the assessors themselves, or indeed the IVs, that some of you are wearing those hats as well, that there certainly is benefits and there's challenges. And definitely the challenges that you have all already spoke about is that it is change, and nobody likes change. What we certainly found was that as each vocational area became online, there was a lot of resistance from assessors and from IVs, but once everybody had experienced it and seen the benefits, nobody wanted to go back to the way it had been previously. Certainly for assessors and for everybody, technology has been an issue. It certainly became something that's much less of an issue as technology has certainly became cheaper. You know, when we started, nobody had such a thing as a smartphone, or that you were able to access the internet if you were out and about. And again, internet, even here in Northern Ireland, can still be an issue. I live quite remotely. I live about 70 miles from our capital city, Belfast, and we would have internet problems. Where I am at the minute, it's very good, but I literally only need to go a quarter of a mile up the road and there is no internet at all. So that can be a big challenge. But I suppose what we did, and it was very much, Tana, you mentioned it several times, just that need for a blended approach. And I think that's what we really did adopt, so that where learners didn't have access to the internet at home, or even in their workplace, that we certainly could provide it when they came in for their face-to-face class as well. So we've always tried to overcome those challenges. With regards benefits to the learner, we certainly seen learners taking much more control of their learning, and learners basically sort of always getting to the stage where they were asking, well, what do I need to do next to meet my next learning outcome, or to provide more evidence. All of the evidence is now in one place, so it was very interesting to hear the regulator talk about paper files and the amount of paperwork. We were finding that evidence was going missing. And that's now not the case. Once it's been uploaded to an e-portfolio, it's safe and it's secure. Assessment can very much become real time. So where learners, some of our programs learners might only see us as assessors once a fortnight, they can send in work between one class and the next class, and we can mark it instantly. They're not waiting to hand it in and to get it back and put it in a file or anything. And again, we can just start to see just really increased communication opportunities with learners. So although all learners are on the same programme, we start to see those learners that are achieving much quicker are those learners that are struggling, and we can go in and provide that one-to-one support, and you see it much, much easier. So definitely from an assessing point of view, I think really key comments were made around facts, validity, authenticity, currency and sufficiency, and they still would be a concern to an assessor, and we would be looking at that with each piece of evidence. Somebody did ask earlier, you know, about sort of, I suppose, the strengths and limitations of evidence, and certainly the system that we would use when somebody submits work, we can put a percentage to it. So certainly an observation is a much higher percentage than maybe somebody making a personal statement. Again, even with written work, you know, now the technology is there to check for plagiarism. And even with e-portfolios, really simple to be able to actually check another student's work, even if they submitted it a month ago or 6 months ago. And again, we can start to set tasks for learners based on individually with what they need. And again, just much more regular communication with the learners. I definitely wanted to touch on from an IV point of view. I certainly have an IV role within People First. And again, it's fantastic. Before I came online today, I was in and I was able to sample some files. Those files didn't need to be collected from another part of the country. They didn't need to be left somewhere for me to go and pick them up. I was literally able to log on remotely and follow my own sampling plan and do the couple of bits of IVing that I had wanted to do today. So again, I just feel from an IV who had seen paper files to now e-portfolios, I can just see that quality is much more on an ongoing basis, and just not at certain times of the year, which is where it used to be, because we were waiting on files being sort of brought into the centre, as it were. And just before finishing, I just wanted to touch on benefits to the employer as well. This is something that we have seen massively improve sort of even over just the last few years, because employers can now track their learners' progress. And it feels more as if the learner is getting much more support, because the employer can see exactly where the learner is at, particularly if they've got a cohort of learners and they've maybe got 10 to 20 learners, they can see those learners that need that extra support. And I think it's certainly reassured employers with regards confidentiality and data protection. The evidence that was actually in somebody's file wasn't about their business or about maybe anything that they wouldn't want shared with anybody else. So it certainly helped employers, I suppose, see the whole process from our point of view. And that's certainly the feedback that we would get from employers. I can't see if there's any questions coming in at the minute, but I'm certainly very, very welcome to take any questions either at the end, or if anybody wants to send any questions through the chat facility. And hopefully that has been enough, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you very much. Very, very on time. Thank you very much. You used your time just right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very useful comments also. I don't know if you wouldn't mind sharing this document also. Talking about questions, a few people just sent in some questions directed to you, so you might want to check the Q&A section. Yeah. Now also, this other panelists, please check the Q&A session. There are a few questions that have not been answered. One, I'm sure, is directed to NBTE. So kindly check and then let's type. We'll still read out a few from those questions. Thank you very much once again, Amanda, for giving us that perspective. Yeah. So to take us further, we would want to take a few questions, a poll questions, just to have the contribution of other participants. So we'll share these questions. Please take your time to quickly answer. There are just 5. Answer them as sincerely as you can. After which, we'll reconvene to take the general questions from the participants.
Hello, Mr. Lawrence. Hello, Lawrence.
Okay. Hello, engineer.
Mr. Lawrence. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, do we start answering the question, the Q&A? Or would we...
The ones addressed to you, please, you can do. Go ahead to answer.
Are we to write or to just babble answer, or we can just write it? Which one?
Okay, I'll give you an opportunity to give a verbal answer since there's just one addressed to you there.
Oh, okay. I think the question here is saying that...
maybe after this session, we'll give you the opportunity, sir.
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for your feedback. Right now, we'd want to hear from the organizer of the Artisans Awards, the convener of the Artisans Awards, and the Director General of C-STEMP Construction Skills Training and Empowerment Project. A man who has been spearheading the issue of training, vocational training within the building sector, as well as the issue of e-assessment. Very passionate for vocational skills. It's my pleasure to introduce Builder Anthony Aboki Okwa to give us his views for the next 3 minutes before we round up. Thank you. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. I think it's a very interesting seminar so far, and I want to appreciate all the speakers. The contributions have been very wonderful and very pertinent to what we're trying to do. We all know that COVID has actually changed everything, the way we think, the way we work, the way we are going to do things in the future. People talk about the new normal. Some are hoping that we'll be able to come back to where we are, but definitely that's not going to happen. And I'm happy that Amanda pointed out that once we get used to doing it the new way, we'll find it very difficult to go back because it's bound to be better. What we expect is that the challenge we are facing now is enabling us to be introspective, to look inwards, to see how we can do things better. And we should be moving not just to the next level, but several rungs up the ladder. Now, this is particularly important to us because for us in this country, Nigeria in particular, the challenge of assessing and certifying the competence of artisans is critical. And it's going to be even more so now that we have to deal with the new reality of COVID. We can't just have anybody coming into our construction sites to work. Health and safety and other considerations are going to be very critical. We need to be able to screen the artisans coming into work to ensure that they will be able to comply with the standards and requirements that are being rolled out by regulatory bodies and the authorities across the globe. So this program is particularly timely. I'm happy that we have quite a few participants, and I think it would be relevant for us to hear their views. And I want to ask those who are interested in speaking up to just raise their hands. There's a portion on the screen where you can raise your hand. Once you do that, the host will admit you so that you can share your views or ask your own questions live. Thank you very much all the panelists and the distinguished participants who are on this program. We appreciate your support. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. Very wonderful words. Thank you very much. So like the DG mentioned, if you have a question, just raise your hand and I will unmute your mic. But for the sake of time, we are 10 minutes beyond 12 o'clock. So we'll just take the next maybe 5 or 10 minutes to take questions. And then like the DG said, if you have a question, just raise your hand and we'll give you the opportunity to ask. But very quickly, this goes to the awarding body. One of the questions I would like this to be answered live. Alaji Husseini, sir, this is directed to you. The question is looking at the prospects with e-assessment amidst the emergence of COVID-19. What is the current position and disposition of the regulatory body, that's NBTE, to e-assessment, especially in teaching? What level of support can NBTE give organizations, training organizations like C-STEMP, amongst others.
Okay, thank you very much. I think NBT is already ahead in the issue of e-learning, especially with the development of open and distance learning national policy, which in it there is a caption of e-assessment there. So it is just a matter of time, and even the use of e-portfolio is on the pipeline. And system is a very good partner of MBTE, and whatever kind of support it requires, and when it brings up such kind of innovation and development. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, right on. We can hear you, sir.
Okay. MBTE is ready actually to partner with the stakeholders and ensure that this e-assessment is see the light of the day. But as one of the many important aspects is that the issue of this blending, because even under the ODL, we have what we call flexible blending learning. This issue of blending both the e-learning as well as the physical is very, very important for the meantime. But the e-assessment and the e-portfolio, MBTE is on the pipeline and to support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much for that confirmation of your support to what we're trying to do. Thank you very much. So in line with the suggestion of the DG, we have 2 hands that are raised. So we'll allow, for the sake of time, we'll allow Builder John Ogweri, the coordinator for Southeast of the CAA, to speak, after which we would allow Mr. Masood Elenu to also speak. So we'll take those 2 contributions. And
I actually saw about 5 hands or so raised. And
yeah,
Barry,
the other ones are phone names.
The CEO of CITB is there.
No, I can't see his
I'm sure he can, he would have a few words for us.
Okay, let's hear from John Ogweri, and then we'll look at the other hands. I see the NIB president too. Thank you very much. Over to you, Bill Ogweri.
Hello?
Yeah, Bill Ogweri, we can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about, I'm glad to be part of this. We are talking of challenges and prospects of e-learning, e-assessment. And my question is, do we consider some factors like these trainees that we are to assess? Do we consider that?
Oh, John, we can't hear you. Do we consider what? Okay, it's like we lost him. While we hope to get him back, let's hear from the president of the Nigerian Institute of Building, Builder Kuli Awobodo. Sir, it's a pleasure to have you. My president, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Good morning, sir. Yeah. Afternoon.
I want to congratulate C-STEMP for organizing this program. We have a very difficult time. Nobody really predicted this COVID-19 that is giving us a worldwide challenge. So it has brought in innovations from all over. And within a very short space of time. So that must now come into whose academic background might not be sufficient to assess this new method of communication or holding meetings. But nonetheless, they have to live up to expectation and rise to time to the new technology we are now embracing. So I wish to congratulate you all. Well done.
Thank you very much, my president. Thank you very much, sir. It's a pleasure. And we're very excited that the awarding body, NIOB, has always been supportive. And like Alaji Husseini has indicated that MBTE would be open to grant us any support. So we are confident that driving e-assessment with the buy-in of the regulatory body and the awarding body, we are home. Thank you very much, sir. We also have in our midst Mr. Barry Nelson. He is the CEO of CITB Northern Ireland. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir. You have just 2 minutes to share your inputs. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I thought I had slipped in anonymously and no one had noticed I was there for a while. Really interesting discussion. I think the world over, the issue of assessment online is one that often exercises those who have to carry out the assessments. But in my discussions with tutors and assessors, it's an interesting point that they will tell you that as soon as they start to read someone's submissions and someone answers, they know exactly who's answering it because of the style of writing and the way that they write. So there is a sort of an unconscious check there for those who are experienced assessors. It's a very difficult one. And I think that's why I think online assessment does work, but I think it can only work when it is mixed and blended with different types of contact through face-to-face and that checking of understanding. And bearing in mind, when we do things such as we're doing just now, you can see the candidate, you can talk to the candidate. So a lot of the interventions that CITB have, we are moving to online. And in fact, People First is one of the organisations that's moved one of our programmes online for supervisor courses. And it's working extremely well. But it's working extremely well because there is face-to-face contact. It may be electronic, but it's still face-to-face contact. However, I still believe that in terms of artisan skills and hand skills, the best way to teach that is physical presence, where a teacher can coach and mentor. And I put a comment up in that the whole learning process is about making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. And I would say we'd rather make those mistakes in a workshop than on a live construction site. And in construction, it's very important that the artisans actually learn to do things right in terms of delivering quality and safety to our clients and the people who use our buildings. I think that's all I would wish to say just now. Thank you. I see.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay, it has gone.
Okay. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah.
We're here.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, the network blipped out. So thank you very much, Barry.
I can see a couple of. I can see more hands up. Can the host allow them in?
Have just
one after the other. We have 4 hands up.
Yes, Alenu, Mr. Alenu, you have the floor. 1 minute, please.
Very much, Mashoud Elelu, immediate past rector of Kwara State Polytechnic, and now on sabbatical leave at MBTE. I want to congratulate you. Are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear, sir.
Yes, I want to congratulate you for getting to this stage, and I think it's a good development, and we have to continue this way. But I must also say that I'm not particularly too happy with the level of participation, the institutions that train some of these artisans. That is one. 2, we need to give more awareness. 2, there's the need, irrespective of what we are doing now or what you are doing now, there's the need to increase, to bring about physical contact. Physical contact, somebody raised earlier, it's also important if we want to overcome some of these things. Lastly, I'm looking forward to a situation where we get to the level of world skills competition kind of thing, where we bring everybody together and see what we can do, both physically and physically. Thank you very much. To continue.
Thank you very much, Rector. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much, sir. 1 minute, please, for these other hands. Your names are not indicated. We have Techno Spark 4 and Techno Povio 3 Air. So 1 minute, please.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Are you talking to me?
No, not you, Rector. Not you, Rector.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the next person can speak.
Yeah, both of them have phone names, not their personal names, so it'd be difficult to identify who they are.
All right.
Thank you.
I think we can move on.
Okay, thank you very much. At this point, we would want to wrap up. So 1 minute, please, from each of the speakers, your closing thoughts. Just 1 minute, 60 seconds, as much as we can. After which the chairman would give us a closing remarks. Thank you very much. We'll start from Tana. Let's have your closing thoughts. 1 minute, please.
I just want really to emphasize, I mean, this training is really wonderful, but we have to emphasize that what we are trying to do in this skills training is the competence of all our learners. So we really have to make sure that all the e-learning assessment, the e-assessment that you are going to use is the right one. There's no room for role play, no room for simulation, and control environment for specifically for this observation that we require in assessment should always be kept in mind when we are doing such observation assessment. Thank you very much. That's all. Thank you very much, Tana. It's a pleasure having you. Engineer Best, Nadim, let's hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm of the view that this nice concept by Engineer Okwa be extended to accommodate other sectors, not just the construction sector, because kids are involved in other sectors. And new guidelines, a committee needs to be set up to come up with new guidelines for the e-assessment. And physical contact must not be ruled out. Remember, for this Construction Skills Award that is imminent now, training has already taken place. So by the next session, when another training is about to start, we will start building e-portfolio from commencement, building it alongside the physical portfolio we have as we are doing it. So we need to train the master craftsmen, center heads on how to build each portfolio alongside the physical ones. Then the new committee that will be set up will be able to come up with a criteria that is acceptable, taking cognizance of the Nigerian factor, yet maintaining international standard. Then with this, we'll be able to come up with people. I was part of the last year in the selection here in Lagos, so such can be done. Centers nominate one that will lead to zonal, then to national level. Then from the other year, from commencement, as training is taking place, we'll build up from scratch.
Thank you, Mr. Benz. Those are very valid and wonderful recommendations, and we'll look into that with the awarding body, training providers, and bringing all other stakeholders on board. Thank you very much, Engineer Best. But Builder Chris Belon-Musa, can we hear your closing thoughts? 1 minute.
All right, thanks for another opportunity to also speak. I think we are all in alignment on the possibilities of field assessments and for CA to go online. And from my jottings too, I think we've all agreed that for now it can be a blended section. Those are my takeaways from this section. Possibly, just like Engineer Best has noted, we can now think of going full electronic, in terms of e-portfolio right from the onset, making sure that all evidences are correctly collected and documented in a secured server. And of course, guidelines should be created. Like I said, NRB has started with that, to develop guidelines and processes for e-assessment. And I trust MBT to help all the sectors coordinate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Builder Chris. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Amanda, let's hear from you before Naomi, and I'll let you say. Amanda,
no, thank you very much. It's been really interesting being part of today. I was making some notes as people were talking, and right from the very beginning, your chairman did say, about the need for innovative ideas, and Naomi followed that up about necessity is the mother of invention. I think you are all asking the right questions. How do you ensure validity? how do you sort of, we would talk about not throw the baby out with the bathwater. We still want to have that face-to-face and that need for a blended approach, and certainly just about the conversation about just the challenges of technology, and that not everybody has access to those devices on the internet, and that needs to be reminded for the learners as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Naomi?
Yes, I'd like to appreciate everyone that has contributed so far, and we will be counting on your support as a pilot for the assessment in Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Naomi. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Alaji, sir, Alaji Hussaini, any closing thoughts? Just 1 minute.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm happy with quality assurance. Whatever we are going to do, whether E or not E, we are always very much concerned about the maintenance of the quality of this assessment. And it is up to the awarding body to bring up its submission so that the awarding body will see over it and
Thank you very much. To close this session, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have all of you on board. But to close this session, I would like to invite our chairman, Dr. Builder Samson Ame Opalua, to close this session for us. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Lawrence, for this exciting session. I'm so excited by the fact that all the contributors, the panelists, all of us are agreed that it is possible. One of the stages had said in the past that there is nothing impossible. It's only thinking that makes it so. And this session this morning has reaffirmed that. However, there are challenges. Once we've had, we have got the competence to overcome these challenges. All that is required is transformational thinking, as one of the panelists did indicate. There is a new norm. There is no gainsaying the fact that we will not return to where we used to be pre the COVID-19 pandemic. What this has done to us in these awards and as an industry, as a construction industry, most of the industries in the is that there's an acceleration of the digital transformation where we ought to have gone over time before we get to this stage has become necessary now. Digitalization, remote construction, remote management, remote assessment and remote come to the fore. And we will
Is it me or is anybody hearing the chairman?
No.
Okay. Chairman, sir, your network is out. Okay, apologies for that. I think the network locked him out. But to close this session, a vote of thanks from the convener of the Artisans Awards and the driver of e-assessment for training providers, Builder Okwa. Vote of thanks before we exit. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, like the chairman was just saying, we're really very excited at the quality of contributions and the level of consensus here. We want to appreciate every one of you for making out time to think through and prepare your contributions, and all your questions and answers, as well as the comments you've shared, have been very instructive. I want to particularly appreciate the the speaker now, as well as the experts, skills experts who would assess the programs. And we had already filed application for associate membership of the World Skills Council. We are working towards that. Definitely, we cannot afford to compromise standards. That's been the refrain from the regulator, MBTE. And that is the reason why we are working closely with the Center for Excellence, the Commonwealth of Learning, and the United Nations. The pursuit of exhausting the world on the line. The 3D printing out the Industrial Revolution, which COVID-19 has helped to fast track globally. So indeed, this is a continuous process. So we look forward to interacting with you again in future. And if we can hear the chairman now, maybe one last word from him before we go. Chairman.
Thank you. Somehow I went off. I can't even remember where I went off. But can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we want to thank our panelists for facilitating and making this possible. Someone said we should include other areas apart from construction. Yes, that's in our plans. And that's why you could hear me talk about a skills expo. So it's not going to be limited. And I think the DG system has already spoken about that. But going forward, I want to end by saying that we need to put all our acts together and consider what has taken place, and as this pandemic that has taken place or is still on, which we hope will come to an end shortly, as an opportunity for us to accelerate programs and processes. And by acceleration does not mean that we will price quality. We have to ensure that everything we do is to the best quality, because skills is an international commodity and it's not localized. So I want to thank everyone who participated today, and to also say that this discussion has just started. It will be taken further. The review of the NOS to take care of e-assessment and e-learning will have to take place. And I do believe that the other organs that are necessary to do this are listening in, and in due course, there will be a get-together to arrange how this will be done so that it can be deployed and we can have the next awards. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. On that note, finally, panelists, thank you very much. Participants, thank you very much for your contributions. They are all taken. For some of the questions we might even answer and share with you on your mail and other materials. Thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing from you very soon. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Malik, come now.
Leadership of the Construction Artisans Awards CAA released a notice of indefinite postponement of the awards, putting all plans and activities on hold till further notice. The motive was for us to be able to monitor the situation on ground and make the most suitable decision given the circumstances. The events following the lockdown have revealed to us that in order to truly raise the bar, we must rethink CAA 2020. We have since then seen the need to be forward-thinking with our approach to how the CAA will be held, and rather than wait for the pandemic to be over, we have proceeded to find alternative means to achieve our goals. For this reason, the convener, Builder AA Okwa, has suggested that we take the awards online. The goal of the CAA is to celebrate excellent craftsmanship. During the event, we have a construction skills competition where artisans from the 7 construction trades compete to win the title of the best artisans in their category and best overall artisans. We also have a category that celebrates women in construction with the award of the best female artisan. To take the CAA online, we have developed 3 stages that includes the preliminaries, the main event activities, and the finale. The preliminaries include all the activities that go into preparing us to be able to successfully have the Construction Artisans Awards online. Some of those activities include registration, the nomination of artisans, the establishment of the screening process, and how we determine the evidences with which we will select the excellent craftsmen. The main event activities include the construction skills competition, showcases, exhibitions, talks, and in the finals, we will be celebrating the excellent craftsmen with an award ceremony. While the global pandemic has had a negative effect on the world, we realize that this is an opportunity for us to take our goal of celebrating excellent craftspersons to a larger audience. And for this reason, we have created registration links that will cut across a broader audience. We have also upgraded our screening process and our eligibility criteria to be able to be digitally compliant and accommodate more people. While we are excited to take up this challenge of taking the competitions online, we do not gloss over the reality that the artisans who are the contestants of the Construction Artisans Awards might not be immediately tech savvy, such that they might have challenges with the use of technology. While we are conscious of the challenges, we believe that the opportunities are so much more, such as greater reach with the cause that we are for, celebrating excellent craftspersons. We also realize that we will get to make some savings on our budgets and develop critical infrastructure that we might be able to deploy going forward with our e-learning and e-assessment goals. We do not have all the answers yet. It's an iterative process. We are still developing processes, thinking around the challenges and looking to make the best of the opportunities that this situation has presented to us. We're grateful for all the support of our partners and our sponsors, and we look forward to taking the CAA 2020 online.